5 terrifying glitches in reality that feel like a horror film. 1. The elevator that wasn't there. James Chen was running late for a job interview on the 17th floor of the Grayson building. He rushed through the lobby, scanning his visitor badge and hurrying toward the elevator bank where a lone car stood with its doors open. Grateful for the convenience, he stepped inside, pressed 17, and watched the doors close. The ascent was normal at first, the floor indicator ticking upward steadily. 1, 2 dots, 3 dots. The elevator car hummed softly around him. At floor 7, the lights flickered briefly. James barely noticed. At floor 11, they flickered again, longer this time. The elevator slowed. Between floors 12 and 13, everything stopped. The lights died completely, plunging him into perfect darkness. The mechanical hum ceased. Even the ambient sounds of the building disappeared, replaced by a silence so complete it felt like pressure against his eardrums. James fumbled for his phone, activating the flashlight. The beam illuminated an impossible sight. The elevator walls had disappeared. Beyond where they should have been was nothing. Not darkness, not another space, but a visual void. An absence so complete his brain struggled to process it. The floor beneath his feet remained solid, a small island of reality floating in non-existence. Heart racing, he called out. His voice made no sound. The air felt thick, resistant to his movements, as if he were submerged in invisible gelatin. After what seemed like hours, but could have been minutes, the lights returned suddenly. The elevator walls reappeared. With a gentle lurch, it resumed its journey upward, stopping smoothly at floor 17. When the doors opened, James stumbled out, shaken but relieved. He asked the receptionist if power outages were common in the building. "What building are you talking about?" she replied, her expression puzzled. "The Grayson building was demolished 3 years ago after that terrible fire. This is the Mercer Tower. It was built on the same site last year." James slowly turned around. Behind him was a solid wall where the elevator doors had been moments before. Security footage later recovered from the lobby showed James Chen walking directly into a maintenance closet. He never emerged. No elevator had operated in that part of the building that day. The entire bank was undergoing renovation. 3 months later, a night janitor reported hearing knocking from inside the walls. Maintenance crews found nothing, but employees on the 17th floor now refuse to work after sunset, claiming they sometimes hear a voice pleading to be let out, followed by the distinctive chime of an elevator that doesn't exist. 2. The woman who remembered tomorrow. Dr. Eleanor Walsh first noticed the anomaly during a routine intake interview with a new patient. Meredith Sloan, 32, complained of severe migraines and memory problems that had begun 3 weeks prior. "The headaches start every day at 3:17 p.m. exactly," Meredith explained. "Then the memories come, things that haven't happened yet." Dr. Walsh had heard similar delusions before, typically associated with schizophrenia or temporal lobe epilepsy. She proceeded with standard questions, making notes for further neurological testing. "You think I'm having a psychotic break," Meredith said suddenly. "Tomorrow you'll spill coffee on your white blouse before your 9 a.m. appointment. You'll change into the blue cardigan you keep in your office credenza. During lunch, your daughter will call to tell you she's pregnant. You haven't told anyone, but you've been worried about her marriage." Dr. Walsh maintained her professional composure, but her heart raced. She had indeed been concerned about her daughter's troubled relationship, something she'd shared with no one. "That's a very specific prediction," she replied carefully. "It's not a prediction," Meredith insisted. "It's a memory. I remember tomorrow the way you remember yesterday. The headache comes and suddenly I've lived through the next 24 hours. Then I reset, I guess. Live through it again for real." The following morning, Dr. Walsh spilled coffee precisely as Meredith had described. Her daughter called during lunch with news of her pregnancy. Shaken, she canceled her afternoon appointments and drove to Meredith's apartment. She found her patient curled on the bathroom floor, blood seeping from her ears and nose, mumbling incoherently. "They're slipping. Meredith whispered when she recognized Dr. Walsh. Days are slipping past each other. Tomorrow is bleeding into today. It's getting worse. I'm remembering further ahead now. She grabbed Dr. Walsh's arm with surprising strength. Next Tuesday, there's a pileup on Highway 27. 37 people die when a tanker truck explodes. You'll be trapped in your car. You'll smell burning flesh. Meredith's eyes rolled back. 2 months from now, the sky changes color. 4 months from now, they come through the tears in the world. 6 months. Her body convulsed violently, then went limp. The autopsy revealed an unusual brain structure. Her hippocampus, the region responsible for memory formation, had somehow duplicated itself. The second version mirror-reversed and overlapping the original. The pathologist had never seen anything like it. Highway 27 was closed the following Tuesday for emergency repairs. Dr. Walsh took a different route to work, unsettled by the coincidence. That evening, the news reported a catastrophic multi-vehicle collision involving a tanker truck on Highway 42, where traffic had been diverted due to the Highway 27 closure. Exactly 37 people died. 2 months later, Dr. Walsh woke to unusual amber light filtering through her bedroom curtains. Outside, the morning sky had taken on a strange sepia tone. Atmospheric scientists blamed unusual dust particles from meteoric activity. She started keeping a journal of Meredith's predictions and watching the sky for tears. 3. The house that remembers. The Henderson family purchased the Victorian home at 1421 Maple Street for well below market value, understanding it needed substantial renovations. The real estate disclosure forms mentioned settlement issues and some water damage in the east wing. It failed to mention the house's most unsettling feature. It remembered its previous configurations. 8-year-old Lily Henderson first noticed it 3 weeks after they moved in. "My bedroom was different this morning," she told her mother at breakfast. "The door was on the other wall." Amy Henderson assumed childhood disorientation in a new home. She accompanied Lily upstairs to show her she was mistaken. The door was indeed on the north wall, just as Amy remembered, but Lily became hysterical. "It was there yesterday," she insisted, pointing to the east wall, now occupied by a built-in bookshelf that had been in the room since they moved in. That night, Amy woke to the sound of power tools. Following the noise to Lily's room, she found her husband Dane staring at the east wall. "Did you move the bookshelf?" he asked, confused. Amy felt a cold weight in her stomach. The built-in shelves were gone. In their place was a door, exactly where Lily had claimed it should be. Dane swore he hadn't done any construction work. Together, they explored what should have been a solid exterior wall, but now opened into a narrow hallway that stretched some 40 feet before ending at another door. "This can't physically exist," Amy whispered. "It would extend well into the neighbor's property." They sealed the door with a heavy dresser and forbade Lily from opening it. The next morning, the bookshelf had returned. The dresser stood awkwardly in the middle of the room. Over subsequent weeks, the architectural glitches multiplied. A bathroom appeared and disappeared on the second floor. The cellar stairs led to different rooms on different days. Windows overlooked impossible landscapes, dense forests where there should have been the neighbor's yard, a rocky coastline in place of the street. Research into the home's history revealed disturbing patterns. Previous owners had repeatedly renovated, each family making significant structural changes before leaving abruptly. Building permits showed 6 different floor plans over 70 years, each raising components of the previous design. Most telling was the journal of Arthur Whitmore, owner from 1967 to 1969, discovered behind a section of shifting wall. March 12, 1968. "The house is rejecting our changes. The wall I demolished last week has returned. Not rebuilt, returned, with the same peculiar stain and nail holes, like it was never removed." April 17, 1968. Margaret insists she became lost for hours in an upstairs corridor that should not exist, emerged in the cellar somehow. "I've measured the dimensions again. The interior spaces exceed the exterior footprint by roughly 40%. Impossible." June 2, 1968. The house is not reconstructing itself, it's remembering. Every configuration it has ever held exists simultaneously. Reality here is thin, permeable. Walls remember being doors, rooms remember being empty space. And I fear the house remembers its previous occupants too. The Hendersons listed the property after Lily went missing for 72 hours, eventually emerging from a linen closet that opened to what she described as the old house from before, where she had met the other families still living in their versions of the same space. The new owners demolished the structure to build anew. Workers reported finding multiple foundations underneath, some built directly atop others, some occupying the same space simultaneously, an architectural impossibility. Construction was abandoned when excavation uncovered a room 30 feet below grade. Inside were personal belongings from each previous owner, including Lily Henderson's stuffed rabbit, which the family had taken with them when they moved. The property remains vacant. Neighbors report lights moving through an invisible house at night. 4. The photograph where everyone died. Photography professor Martin Bellamy was reviewing student submissions for the university's annual showcase when he came across Erica Nowak's disturbing portfolio. Her work typically featured mundane street photography, people in parks, busy intersections, cafe scenes, but captured with exceptional technical skill. This submission was different. Each photograph showed groups of people in public spaces, their faces overlaid with strange, smoky distortions that obscured their features. The effect was unsettling, like each subject was being erased or consumed by shadow. "It's a clever post-processing technique," Martin commented during their review session. "Photoshop?" "I didn't add those," Erica replied, her expression troubled. "They appeared when I developed the film. I'm still shooting analog, remember?" Martin examined the negatives. The distortions were indeed present in the original exposures, impossible for film photography without deliberate double exposure or light leaks, neither of which would create such specific patterns targeting only faces. "Maybe your camera has a light leak," he suggested, though he didn't believe it himself. Erica shook her head. "I thought so too, but then..." She hesitated. "I started noticing something. The people with the distortions, they all died within a week after I took their photo." Martin stared at her. "I know how it sounds," she continued, "but I kept track. The man on the bench in Westside Park, heart attack, 3 days later. The woman at the coffee shop, hit and run, 5 days after. The group of teenagers, their car went off Riverside Drive into the water last Tuesday." "Coincidences," Martin said firmly. "Macabre ones, but coincidences nonetheless." "That's what I thought. So I tested it." Erica pulled out her most recent set of prints, a busy farmer's market downtown. Roughly 1/3 of the faces in the crowd showed the strange shadow-like effect. "I took these Saturday morning. By Monday evening, there was a food poisoning outbreak linked to contaminated produce from the market. 17 people hospitalized, 6 deaths so far." She laid the photos on his desk. "Look at their faces, Professor. Count the distortions. There are exactly 17. Martin felt cold. "You need to stop taking photographs, Erica." "I already did, but yesterday I realized something worse." She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and pointed it at Martin. "Digital works too. Look." She turned the screen toward him. In the image, his face was clear, normal. But behind him, where there should have been just his empty office, stood a crowd of people. Dozens of them, all with the same smoky distortions obscuring their features. "They're in every picture now," Erica whispered. "Watching, waiting. I think by photographing them, I'm allowing them to see us, to cross over somehow." Martin deleted the photo immediately, but in the brief moment he'd seen it, he'd recognized a face in that impossible crowd. His daughter, who had died 3 years ago in a car accident. That evening, he found his family photo albums had changed. In every picture, throughout decades of memories, the same shadowy distortions had begun creeping into the backgrounds, growing larger and more numerous in recent photos, closer to the subjects, Reaching. The gallery exhibition was canceled after Martin Bellamy's disappearance. Police found his apartment empty except for hundreds of photographs scattered across every surface. Family snapshots, student portfolios, magazine clippings. In every image, each human face had been meticulously cut out. Erica Nowak continues her studies but no longer takes photographs. She switched to the digital arts program, though she refuses to use cameras of any kind, even for reference material. Her recent work features stark, minimalist landscapes deliberately devoid of human figures. She's begun wearing sunglasses indoors. Those who look closely notice her pupils have taken on a strange, rectangular shape, like camera apertures. 5. The man who glitched. Transit officer Sandra Diaz had reviewed the security footage so many times she had memorized every frame. Her supervisor thought she was wasting department resources on a case that wasn't even a case. Just a routine service disruption on the Blue Line, but Sandra couldn't shake what she'd seen. The incident occurred on Tuesday, 7:14 p.m. Cameras showed a normal evening commute. A half-full subway car swaying gently as it traveled between stations. In the third row, a man in a gray suit sat reading from a tablet. Nothing remarkable about him. Mid-30s, dark hair, unremarkable features. No other passengers were seated nearby. At 7:16:42, the man looked up suddenly as if startled. He glanced around, then returned to his device. At 7:16:47, something impossible happened. The man fragmented. There was no other word for it. His form seemed to separate into hundreds of jagged geometric shards that hung suspended in the air for approximately 2.3 seconds. Then the fragments snapped back together, but wrong. His limbs appeared slightly elongated. His head was angled unnaturally. His clothing had changed to a blue jacket. No other passenger reacted. None appeared to notice. At 7:16:51, it happened again. This time, when the fragments reassembled, the man was standing rather than sitting, wearing a completely different outfit, a red sweater and black pants. His facial features had subtly rearranged. At 7:16:55, a third fragmentation. The reassembly showed him seated again, back in the gray suit, but now 2 rows ahead of his original position. A glitch in the recording, Sandra had initially thought. At 7:17:03, the entire subway car briefly fragmented. Walls, seats, passengers, all shattering into geometric shards before reassembling. When the image stabilized, the man was gone. The train had not stopped. The doors had not opened. He had simply ceased to exist. Or so it seemed until Sandra began reviewing footage from other stations. She found him, or someone identical, on a Green Line train at exactly the same time, and on a platform at Central Station, and exiting the North Terminal 15 miles away. All simultaneously, she compiled the occurrences, documenting identical fragmentation events across the transit system. Over 3 weeks, she identified 27 appearances of the same man, always with the distinct glitching pattern, always vanishing after the 3rd or 4th fragmentation. Then she found footage of him entering the same train car she took home each evening. Sandra began watching her fellow passengers obsessively. 3 days later, she saw him, gray suit, dark hair, ordinary features, sitting 2 rows ahead, reading from a tablet. She approached cautiously, unsure what she intended to do or say. As she drew near, he looked up suddenly, recognized her, smiled in a way that made her blood freeze. "You've been watching me," he said. His voice sounded wrong, modulated, like multiple voices speaking in imperfect unison. "What are you?" Sandra managed to ask. "A correction," he replied. "Reality has errors sometimes, duplications, overlaps. I resolve them." "You're fixing glitches?" "I am the glitch," he said, still smiling, "and the correction. When multiple probability streams converge incorrectly, He made a gesture with his hands, pressing together invisible objects. As if on cue, his form fragmented briefly, reassembling slightly altered. "There are more errors lately," he continued, his voice now distinctly multiple, layered versions of the same voice speaking identical words milliseconds apart. "The boundaries are weakening. More corrections are required. Sandra noticed with horror that other passengers were beginning to fragment too, subtle at first, just momentary pixelation around the edges, but growing more pronounced. "What's happening to them?" she demanded. "Contamination," the man said simply. "You've been watching the corrections, recording them, focusing attention on systemic errors. Attention solidifies the anomalies, makes them harder to correct." He stood, his movement unnaturally fluid. "You've created quite a problem, Officer Diaz." The entire train car shuddered, reality briefly disintegrating around them. When it reassembled, they were alone in the car. "Where did everyone go?" Sandra whispered. "Different probability track. This one needs comprehensive correction." His face fragmented and reconstructed, now inches from hers. "You have a choice. Stop investigating. Destroy your evidence. Forget what you've seen. Or ... Or what? Become a correction yourself." He held out his hand. It flickered between human fingers and something crystalline, geometric, with too many joints. When Sandra Diaz failed to report for her shift the following day, her supervisor reviewed the security footage from her last known location. The recording showed her boarding the 6:45 train as usual. Midway through her journey, she stood suddenly and exited at Foster Station, a stop she never used. Except the timestamp showed she exited Foster at 7:17 and Central at 7:17 and remained on the train until the end of the line, also at 7:17. The footage has been archived as evidence in her missing persons case. Those who view it report occasional visual artifacts, moments where the image seems to fragment into geometric patterns before resolving again. In these corrupted frames, viewers sometimes glimpse a second figure accompanying Officer Diaz, a man in a gray suit with features that never quite stay the same. Transit security has installed new cameras throughout the system. They malfunction frequently. Those who commute regularly report occasional moments when reality seems to stutter, brief sensations of déjà vu, seconds that repeat, fellow passengers who seem to flicker between different positions. Most dismiss these experiences as fatigue or stress, but some have noticed the man in the gray suit, watching them from the corner of the platform. And in those moments, they feel reality holding its breath,